Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 o'clock. I would like to call the Community Mental Health Full Board Meeting to order. I'm going to begin by reading our mission statement. Macomb County Community Mental Health, guided by the values, strengths, and informed choices of the people we serve, provides quality services which promote recovery, community participation, self-sufficiency, and independence. Next is adoption of the agenda. Motion by Schmidt, supported by O'Connell. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next is the hearing of the public. This is where the public has an opportunity to speak. You have 5 minutes. Please identify yourself, your name and address. While we don't respond directly at this meeting, if you sign in at the table over by the door there, or on the wall there by the door, somebody from the staff will get back with you. Is there anyone that would like to address this board? Last call, okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5, which is approving the minutes of the regular board meeting from July 24, a month ago. Motion by Bush, supported by Nagovan. Any questions or comments on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Next item is approval of the Program and Budget Committee meeting that was held on August 14. Am I looking at the right? Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I skipped one. Item number 6A, the minutes of the Recipient Rights Advisory Committee that was held on July 18. Motion by Burke, supported by someone over here. All right, Kraft. Any questions or comments on those minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. And now the minutes of the Program and Budget Committee that was held on August 14. Motion by Burke. Support by Fantuzzi. Any questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next, item number 7. All of 7, the items A through G were all discussed and approved to come forward to this meeting for final approval.
Manager, make a motion to approve items 7A, B, C, D, and E.
Support.
Support by Chair Matero. Was that Nick that said that?
Too.
And G.
And G. So you want your motion to approve all of them except F?
Yes.
Okay. And we have a motion and support for that. Any comments or questions on those items? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go back to item 7F.
Motion to approve.
Support.
All right, motion by Phil, supported by Linda. Any discussion on that? Nick?
3 quick points. First off, the contract, it's referred to as an engagement letter, but it is a contract. The contract calls for it to commence August the 1st, and that there be at least 1 full day of payment per month. Since this is the 28th, I assume that the 1st is, unless you have them coming in tomorrow or the next day, that's not an appropriate date, and maybe the maker of the motion would like to change the date to the first day of work or something. Can you tell us, David, as to whether or not you expect them to come in one day this month? Considering
No,
only
we
2
do
days.
not expect him to start for August. No.
Yeah, so that should be changed to September 1 if the maker of the motion agrees. The second point is there's only place on the engagement letter for the CEO's signature our contracts generally have to be co-signed by the county exec. I don't know if there's a dollar limitation on that, or will the county exec be co-signing, or does this come under some exclusion from that rule?
What we do is, Barb helps me, and we type in the signature line for the county executive's office. Anything over $5,000 would go through the county's process as well.
Is that 5,000 total or 5,000 a month?
Total.
Total. So you're anticipating having the county exec co-sign this? The fact that it isn't on our copy is...
Right, and we've been in contact with the Board of Commissioners office as well.
Okay, that was my next question, but let me get to that, because the next question was, when the task force approved this and when we discussed it last, there was some talk about the county paying the bill. The county board, to my knowledge, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, has not yet appropriated those dollars. And you had indicated at the program and budget meeting that you'd fill us up in on further conversation.
That's true. There is communication with the Board of Commissioners office. It is slated to go on their agenda for September meeting. As of right now, I do not know what amount, if any, the Board of Commissioners would be willing to contribute towards this amount. But we continue to be in conversation.
Okay, but the way this is worded, we're on the hook for the full bill, whether the board or the exec agree to pay or not. So I would move that we would make our approval of this contract conditional upon appropriation from the county for the additional costs to the Community Mental Health Agency for its for it to be carried out. In other words, we'll do it if they're going to pay for it, is the nice way of saying it.
There was conversation about paying part of that and maybe not the entire amount. It's yet to be settled between the Board of Commissioners and the County Executive's office.
Well, I'd be willing to make a motion that talked about some of it if I knew what part of meant. But if part of meant means $1, obviously, that's different than part of meaning $3,000 a month plus expenses, which is what this contract calls for.
And before we continue on, I thought you had made a motion.
My motion is...
I didn't hear any support for that. Is there support for that?
What's his motion?
My motion is that the approval of the contract would be contingent upon sufficient appropriations from the county to cover the sufficient additional appropriation from the county to cover the cost of the contract.
Okay, so seeing no support, we'll, from, Brian? Okay, support from Brian. All right, so we have, let's do, just amending it to say that, or do you, yeah, because you did not make the motion. You did not make the first motion, but.
My motion is to amend Phil's motion to approve the
Correct.
contract.
So right now-
To make the approval conditional upon the county's appropriation of appropriate monies.
Correct. So right now, we have an amendment on the floor. So let's, any discussion on that amendment? Linda?
Two questions on what Nick was talking about. Number one, do we have to change the date of the contract if there's no billing in August? You can have a contract in effect, and if there's no service and no billing, the date's fine?
The way the contract reads is we guarantee them 1 day's pay a month, starting August 1. We're not going to use August 1. So my assumption, and I think what David said, is there's a general agreement that before he signs the contract, we change that date to September 1 or to the first day of work or whatever. And I don't know that we need a formal motion that I certainly.
I don't have it before me, but someone else, is that what it says? You wouldn't bring it to us?
That's what
I
the
believe
letter of
the agreement
engagement says.
says 1 full day on site would trigger the $3,000 payment. So
No, it
unless he-
actually says, and I do have it in front of me, that that's an alternative
Well,
to the hourly payments, and that,
sure.
The second, The second question is on the amending the, on his amendment to the motion. If that, then he would say that if they didn't pay anything, then we don't, there's no other way. This contract's dead forever dealing with this, if you put that
It says we
in
can,
place.
either party can terminate it upon notice to the other party. There was some discussion, I've heard from some commissioners that they don't generally approve contracts that don't have an ending date, but when I read the full contract, it clearly says that either party can terminate it upon notice. So we could keep them for 1 month, we could keep them for 20 months. It goes up 5% at the first of each year, the 3,000. And the second copy, to give you the specific letter that you asked for in the engagement letter, it had changed it from the original copy, which we had at the program and budget meeting, to say CMH commits to 1 day of service on site per month for a monthly retainer of $3,000 plus actual out-of-pocket expenses, typically limited to mileage and $12 lunch, and then additional hours at our discounted rate below. Also, if you go back up further in that, it says our services will commence on August 1, 2019, and continue month to month until terminated in writing
Okay,
by either party.
But I'm not seeing where that says that
but-
we would have to
but-
pay for a service that didn't.
let's,
Yeah, that says we have
let's
to pay
stop.
for
Right now,
August.
we have a motion on the floor to make it be, to say that it needs matching, basic, in essence, it needs matching funds, requires matching funds, or
They're two-
additional
yeah, they're
funding,
two
additional
different
funding
issues. Yeah.
from the county. So let's just deal with that, and then we'll get back to that data issue, because I think we ought to clean that up, so. All right, any other comments on that, on the amendment? All right, all in favor of the amendment, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? How many do we have?
Do you want to
One?
do it by
Yeah,
hands?
let's just do it.
Do it by hands.
Those who would like it, who support the motion, voting for it, 1, 2, 3. All right, 4, and against, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 against. So the amendment does not, the amendment failed, was not approved. All right, so now we're back to the original motion. The maker was Phil. Would you want to clean up the
Yeah,
dates?
I don't have a problem amending my motion to say September 1st instead of, it's, in here it says the retainer for this engagement will be billed at the beginning of each month, and we've kind of passed the beginning of August, so I'm guessing we're not going to be billed, but September, we can just change the date and clean it up and call it good.
And then
Yeah,
why
it's
don't we
just a
also, if it's okay, also, it says that we're approving a letter of engagement, but let's add "and contract." That's just for, it's just makes it easier to find it if we're ever looking for it in the minutes.
The letter of engagement is a contract.
So we have the motion. Let me just read this. Approve Raymond engagement letter and contract to receive financial consultation services regarding authority status. And then within the contract, the starting date being September 1 instead of August 1. All right. Seeing no further comments on, yes, Linda?
I think I'm not comfortable not knowing, voting, not knowing what the county contribution is going to be. Since that's been discussed from the beginning that they were willing, perhaps, it was told to me that they would pay something. So what are the repercussions of not doing it till we hear from the county?
Oh.
I guess, mind if I jump in? I guess the repercussions would be, I mean, we have our committee meeting in the middle of September and full board end-ish of September, so that would be the final decision. Dave and Barbara and Lynn put it in our system about a week or two ago, so it's floating around in the system, and I don't know the details of it. I haven't seen the exact language of it, but I talked to Dave about having and up to a dollar amount. So there's a little bit of wiggle room depending on the length of the contract. Dave, correct me if I'm speaking out of turn.
No, we've been in contact with the Office of the Board of Commissioners. They, their request was that once this body approved it, it go to them. It is in their system. I believe they've seen it. It just hasn't been moved forward as an action item. So as of right now, I do not have a dollar amount associated with that. And again, we can control the spend for his services. We can get out with notice. There is no desire or identified need at this time to use any additional hours over and above the day on site. We'll be limiting that. And that's where we stand right now.
Brian?
I got an issue with it because if the county commissioners made mention that they were gonna pay for it, and we're voting on something we do not know how much they're gonna pay for. Yet we could be stuck for the whole bill. I mean, we should know what the county commissioners are willing to pay for on this before we're voting on it, so we know exactly what the cost is. Because of the cuts that we've been making, we need to put all the money we can do to services. And if the county's gonna help out and pay for this because they want it too, then that's more money goes through services, instead of having an open-ended situation, say, well, we passed it, county commissioners, well, they passed it, so it's on the board of the mental health board. They've already passed it, so we don't have to pay nothing. So I'm gonna vote no on this just for that reason alone. If the county makes a commitment to what they're gonna pay in this, either we know what they're gonna pay or not gonna know, that's fine. If they're not gonna pay nothing on it, then we know what we're voting on. But right now, it seems like we're voting on something that the county says, well, they're gonna give to it up to a dollar amount, but we don't know what it is. So it's an open-ended deal. They can just say no and not pay nothing. And then if, for, respectability, we're gonna sign a contract with somebody and say, well, we can cut it off anytime, so we're gonna say, because the county commissioners didn't pay anything for it, so we're not gonna use you? It doesn't make sense the way it's perceived. We should know what the count is, what we're paying for up front before we vote for it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Nick?
Just for clarification, because I don't doubt Dave's word when he says he's only going to use the 1 day a month, but that's not what the contract reads. What the contract reads is that we guarantee 1 day a month, starting whatever the first day is, and I assume that would be the first day after you sign the contract. You'll fix that, and I have no problem with that. I mean, I think we're all adults here, and we're not going to be lying to each other, and I don't think anybody is. So we would be on the hook for $3,000 a month in September, whether or not the county appropriates money. Now, the county may appropriate $3,000, which we would all like, or may appropriate nothing. The reason I raised the issue is because commission staff contacted me since the program budget meeting and said, we got this thing here, do you know anything about it? So we can kind of disperse the information among others. And I told them I'd voted no, but the board had voted 7-3, I think it was, at that time, in favor. But that, basically told them what was in the contract. And I don't know that the Board of Commissioners are going to appropriate any money for this. I don't know that they aren't. But the reality is, unless somebody's done a specific count, we only have a hope and a prayer that they will pay. And so I think Linda's absolutely right. We ought not to sign this contract until we know how much we're spending. If we're spending, it's $3,000, that's one thing. Maybe board members want to spend $3,000 a month for it. If we're spending nothing, that's another thing. If we're spending $1,000, I mean, everybody will have a different idea based on what the cost in services is to the Community Mental Health Agency. So I think Linda's right. I think it's premature to vote on it, and I'd hope that we would delay. When we discussed this at the meeting 2 weeks ago, our CEO indicated that he was going to have further conversations with the board, which he did, and would have more to report back today. What he reported back today was, I don't know how much they're going to, I know how much we've asked, but I don't know how much they're going to. So I think it's inappropriate for us to adopt this until those discussions are finalized in September with the Board of Commissioners.
Phil?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to remind this body that the task force approved this unanimously, and there was no exact source of funding decided upon at that task force.
My understanding was it was based on that the county was
No,
going to cover the
that
cost.
was not it. Nope.
I wasn't there, but
I'm just,
that's what was reported to me by task force members. I mean, obviously
Can I
people hear
continue?
what they hear. Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you. As for the commissioners, I don't know what the Board of Commissioners is going to do. There are 13 independent people. I've had discussions with a few of them, and it seems there is interest there, which is why we brought this forward. There's also a county executive that has a budget that could have money put towards this as well. It's not just the Board of Commissioners. But I just wanted to remind everybody of that tidbit of the task force, that everybody there approved this consultant coming in for this purpose. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else on first round? Anyone else on the first round? All right, then we've got Linda.
Phil reminded me that when this first came up, that, of course, the interest came, you said at a meeting that the interest came about not signing the contract unless we looked at authority. So that there was that there would be a request, I guess, made of the executive's office. Now, I'm not hearing that that's been done. Is that true? That no one has requested half and half or sharing with us anything any payment from the executive's office?
I think do you have any direct information, yes or no, regarding that?
No, at this time, we haven't gone to the executive's office, only to the Board of Commissioners as step one.
But the comment was made by one of the staff members that perhaps we could put some money up to that.
So I would ask, why hasn't that request been made if that was put on the,
I'll tell you why after.
Okay.
Yep. I'll hear from Brian. Did you want to say anything
Well,
further?
with that information as being coming from the commission the people that are working on this, well, then why are we not voting on paying the whole cost? Yeah, but it's saying that the county's gonna pay for it and everything else. I mean, just call it what it is. That this is gonna be laid out, the whole cost is gonna go on to CMHR. That we're paying for it.
All right, here's how I look at it. I would approve voting for this because it is a very open-ended contract. We can decide next month, let's say the Board of Commissioners decides at their next meeting, there's no way. Let's say the executive office said, no, we changed our mind, we're not going to allocate any of our budget toward that either. We can stop. We can just stop the whole thing. As it was pointed out before, the reason we're in this search is because it was something from the executive's office. Now, I do think we will be getting some. I don't have any, obviously no vote has been taken by the Board of Commissioners, but I do think that there will be some buy-in by the county, be it through the executive's office, the Board of Commissioners, or both. So I can support this motion. It's not quite what we'd like it to look like, but I can't, because we control the end of it. We can stop it next month if we need to. If this whole thing is not working out, we can stop it.
So then we'd be paying $3,000 for 1 month service?
Well, whatever, that's what the
Okay,
contract
but
is.
Where's the credibility of this department, this board, going through a contract?
Well, it
to
also
say-
goes like this, well, we're not gonna, someone's gotta approve it first before we're gonna do it. That also is going
Well, then put it
on.
what it is, that we're gonna pay the full cost of this through the board.
But then we won't get, that's one option.
I mean, that's what it
Sure.
is, because we're working on hypothetical situations, that somebody's gonna come in and hand us money later and say, well, we might do it, but if you're gonna approve this, then approve what it truly is. We're approving this because it was recommended to do it, to pay the whole cost of this situation, for this contract. I mean, if you're working in the public and you hand out a contract, and you do put stipulations to pull out. But you're doing it right after you find out you're not getting no money from anybody else. I mean, where's the credibility of this board that if we're gonna do something, let's do something? But let's don't rely on hearsays on where the money's coming from to do it. If this is something, there's not a necessity, it's gotta be done to this right now. Go back to the Board of Commissioners, go back to the county executive and say, hey, how much are you gonna put towards this? And then if they're not putting nothing toward it, then we know what we're voting on it. And if they're doing, then we know what we're voting on. It may not cost the CMH a dime, they may cover the whole cost, but we don't know. But as we vote on it right now, we're covering the cost. It's a contract.
Right. Megan, did you have something? Oh, I thought you had raised your hand. Anyone else? I don't see any on the speaker list. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. Go
I
ahead.
move to table the motion.
Who supported it? Brian? Okay. We have a motion to table. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. How about raise your hand? 1, 2, 3. All right. Opposed? Raise your hand, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Opposed. All right, so we're back to the main motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Let's do hands again, I'm sorry. All in favor signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, there's 12 of us.
Yeah,
All right, I voted for it.
okay.
So-
Okay,
All right, so 9 to 3.
9 yeas and 3,
9 approving,
3 not.
3 not, right. All right, then we'll move on to item 8, receive and file. Do we have any items for that? I didn't see anything. Next, resolutions. I don't think there's any of those. None tonight. And a very important item number 10, the voucher listing, that we pay the list of bills. Motion by Schmidt, support by, I heard, sure, but Phillips, that's fine. Everyone wants to pay the bills. Get out your checkbook. Any discussion on any of the bills? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And number 12, management report.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome Tony Plua to our Board of Directors.
Yes.
With your permission, can Tony make a comment?
Absolutely, and the very first written thing on here was to welcome you, and I forgot to read my own writing, so please do, please do.
Thank you for the warm welcome. And looks like I got a new hobby. It's going to be studying I read the 180 pages of the cost report that you guys just bought in. And I forgot that this might be a snake pit. I think it's going to be fun. Particularly witnessing that last debate. But I hope to contribute on behalf of the users in our community. And thank you very much for the warm welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. I will schedule a brief meeting to go through some of our hot topics, try to get you up to speed, but you're off and running already with 180 pages. Some staff updates. The posting for our Chief Compliance Officer position has closed. I reviewed all of the applicants, and we are moving into the interview stage at this point, along with the human resources at the county. Sheila Cote's position has been posted. She's not here this time. So we will be receiving applications for that position as well. Also internally, I'm completing my kind of road trip, round 2 of going out to all of our sites. It was kind of a promise that I made to our staff when I started, and it's been interesting for sure. Lots of questions about the authority task force from staff, as expected. On the authority task force too, we met on August the 15th, was our last meeting. Mike McCartan, the former CEO of Region 10, which is in the thumb right above us, was our guest. He shared a lot of his experiences transitioning counties from agencies to authorities, and he was involved with St. Clair and Genesee County when they were added to Region 10 in the last shrinkage of PIHPs from 18 to 10. On August 7th, we met with the Office of the County Executive to review our next fiscal year budget. For the first time in over 5 years, we are projecting to be able to make a contribution to our ISF. On a related note for funding, that the state continues to deliberate supplemental funding to the entire statewide CMH system of $49.8 million. I have not heard where a definitive answer one way or the other. It's kind of keeps hanging out there. And we have not heard how it would be distributed if it was approved. So we're tracking that closely. On August 12th, we met with the audit committee members of the Board of Commissioners. It was a good discussion. We're following up on some of those agreed upon activities as well internally. I was able to attend the Java with Judson event on August the 22nd and meet both Senators Debbie Stabenow and Senator Gary Peters. And Megan Burke and I are scheduled for a road trip right after the holiday weekend. Tuesday morning, we'll be in Southfield for Debbie Stabenow's event. Good news, too, from the Human Service Coordinating Body. That's the collaborative. A lot of county entities, state entities are there. And I was able to pitch Project Search, which is a program near and dear to my heart. Been involved with it for a number of years before coming to Macomb County. It takes a classroom of students in special education who are 1 year away from meeting their graduation requirements, and they spend that year at a host business in the community. In Wayne County, we were at DTE Energy and the Embassy Suites. We had been at Blue Cross Blue Shield. They have a program in Oakland County. They continue to do it in Wayne County. Macomb has tried here and there. I'd been in contact, invited people from Macomb down to our collaborative, but it never quite got going. The ISD, Macomb Intermediate School District, is on board with us. MRS was at the table, along with the Bureau for Services to Blind Persons.
What's
some
MRS? MRS?
Yeah, MRS.
What is that?
Oh, Michigan Rehabilitation Services. They're the vocational counselors for the state of Michigan. And they've become kind of the lead agency, but in this case, it looks like through it's called an ICTA, an ICTA, or Interagency Cash Transfer Agreement. The state of Michigan has this magical ability to take $1 and turn it into almost $4, and to support those classrooms. So we're moving forward, and just before I left my office to come here, Madeline Habib from our office, who's on the Human Service Coordinating Body, she mentioned she had been in contact with Kevin from the Martha T. Berry and talked to him briefly about Project Search, and he said he was on board. So it'd be a great host business site for a classroom, so we're already kind of off and running.
Great.
We had the staff meeting at the administrative offices this morning, and I provided some updates about plan changes that had been made and things that we're looking at going forward. So briefly on that, we have the internal newsletter. I think, Linda, you mentioned that before. That's going out on a regular basis to help keep our staff informed. We have the new website that Cyndia has presented on. That continues to move forward. We have a claims edit in place that's been commented on a couple of times. That will improve our data reporting. Our claims data is a key source of our information. By decreasing the time providers have to report that to us, the better our reporting will become. It will also allow us to kind of wrap up year-end activities, hopefully a little bit faster. We've looked at some new general fund claims edits to automate some of that process. The mobile crisis screening has started for children, and it's already hit an above 70% diversion rate. We're looking to start that for adults as early as next month, October, mid. Yeah, yeah, I was looking at Adam for that one. We'll hammer out the details as quickly as possible to get that started. Adam is our point person for the MCG software rollout. That's scheduled to start October 1st. That will help increase the consistency of our utilization management and utilization review decisions. AFIA is working, it was in their statement of work to do the projections on our spending and utilization. That continues so we can be more proactive instead of reactive. The staff positions that were clarified, we're currently working on clarifying roles and responsibilities for each of those departments and uncovering some interesting things during that process. Like I have some activities that are not being covered at all anywhere. So we're fixing that as we go forward as well. The access and referral is one of our 90-day projects right now. Along with getting those referrals out, we continue on the residential unbundling. We're getting a new phone system and new copiers and printers. Those were all in IT's budget from before and part of their approved budget before. Those are finally moving forward. Under the category of, you never know till you ask, we asked the county for some help with our fleet, and they were able to locate 2 new vehicles for us. They're new to us, I'll put it that way. But we were definitely in need of that and happy to have them. Our value-based contracting learning collaborative has begun, and we'll be meeting with the other Michigan teams on September the 27th in Mount Pleasant to kick that off. And on the good news too, after our cyber attack, we had to beef up our information security. In meeting with staff, the IT director at Macomb County, they had just gone through an RFP process for a virtual information security officer. So they had the company already selected. I just simply asked, could we piggyback on that? And yes, we can. So we were looking at an RFP that would cost us over $100,000 a year. We're looking to cover just the little pieces now that contract won't cover. So it should be a money-saving venture on our side. So I'll end on that good news update.
Great. Thank you.
I forgot the famous yellow sheet. I'm here to remind everybody that Wednesday, September 11th at 6 p.m. is our Program and Budget Committee, chaired by Phil Kraft. The next board meeting for September is September the 25th at 6 p.m. There is also a substance abuse conference at Cobo Hall in Detroit on September 15th through the 17th. And there's a parenthetical motion to approve attendance for that. I don't know if I can call for that. Through the chair.
Correct. So,
Yeah, I'm not the chair.
right. So we do need a motion to approve attendance at the
Substance
abuse conference. It's not Cobo anymore. What's the new name of it? TCF Bank.
It'll be
Yes.
Cobo, like Pine Knob.
Right. Well, for you, for
Yeah.
some of the older people, right? So, all right, we have a motion by Bush, support by Burke. Any discussion on that, approving those who need to attend? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, so that motion carries.
Sorry for not
Yeah, that's
catching that,
okay.
Ed. Recipient rights.
And the recipient rights conference, which is September 24 through 27 in Battle Creek. Need a motion for that? Motion by Bush, support by Bush. I'm sorry, Schmidt. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? And then the next one is the CMHA Fall Conference at Grand Traverse Resort, October 20 through 27. How could it be that
It's
long?
22, should be 22.
Oh, October 22 through 27? Okay.
No, that's not
It's 20
That's
to
still
22.
So it's the 20th through the 22nd.
Second.
Okay, very good. Oh, shoot. Okay. I'm looking at my calendar. We need a motion for that. Motion by Kraft, support by Phillips. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so we approval now for staff and board members to attend those conferences as is needed. All right, anything
Thank you.
else?
No.
Okay. Then next is other agenda items, and I have one first. The recipient rights department sent notice over, and I'll turn that over to Selena, who's the chair of the recipient rights committee.
We have received an allegation that needs to be taken a look at. The Michigan Mental Health Code does not permit an agency to do an investigation against an allegation when it pertains to our executive director or CEO. It does permit us to send it over to another CMH or to the state for the investigation of the allegation. We have used Oakland County previously to do an investigation against our executive director or CEO, and at this time I'm asking for a motion to have Oakland County look into this and investigate the allegation.
Support.
All right, motion by Bush, support by Fantuzzi. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Selena. Anyone else? Linda?
I think, Randy, did you put this at our desks or somebody?
I asked to have it put in the desk.
I just wanted, thank you.
Actually got it.
Well, somebody does whatever you say, Randy, that's good. But I just have to give testimony to this event. Randy is a co-founder and always a planner and always there. And this is the 19th year? Is that, did we get that right,
We got
Ryan?
that
Ryan
right.
and I were doing the
Roman
Roman numerals. And it's at Belle Isle, and it's Saturday, and I often go and I can't go. So it would be wonderful if somebody else could go, because you see a lot of our partners are sponsors, so you see people that we partner with to help people in recovery. And there are so many, it's just fun, and there's a walk, and all these families in recovery, and people literally celebrating recovery. So I highly recommend it if you're, and Belle Isle's wonderful. I was there Sunday, so this is a win-win. So
Did you see Randy there too?
did I promote this well enough, Randy? Did I do what you told me to do? Okay. And then I have, Kathy mentioned, Dave mentioned, the supplemental bill that the last word from Alan Bolter today was he doesn't know if it's going to come back. It's a proposed request for the 49 million. And then today, we don't even know if they're going to revisit it when they come, and we didn't know, and like Dave said, we don't know our share. But I have copies of it, and I think that somehow, my opinion, is that we need to figure out a way to make it come back and make them visit it when they get back from their break, and have it go through and give Macomb their fair share. So I have copies of the actual language and the amounts. And at the CAC, the reason Tony knows so much already is because for years he has been a member of the Citizens Advisory Council. And so at our last meeting, and Tony was there, Dave had a woman come from Autism Alliance of Michigan, and what was her name?
Joanna Lofton.
Joanna Lofton, and she gave a great presentation, and many of the people at the Citizens Advisory Council kind of were, in my opinion, were acting like they hadn't heard of this service, and they were very excited that it was available. So I'm just going to give the website, and the telephone number, but it's Navigating Autism, and you can actually get a navigator specialist who's assigned to your family for life from the very first call to help you, it sounds like negotiate the system. There, when your child is first diagnosed, I can imagine all the things that you don't even know what to ask. And so this is a great service that someone can kind of take you under their wing, someone who knows the system and someone whose job for life is to help you navigate that. So the telephone number is 877-463-AAOM, and it's that stands for the Autism Alliance of Michigan.
Thank you, Linda. Anyone else? Nick?
Just as a quick addition to Linda's discussion on the supplemental appropriation, I just emailed it to you, by the way. I did get an electronic copy, if anybody wants it as well, from Alan, and I talked to Alan yesterday, and his sense was that if it goes, it probably gets rolled in with the rest of the budget deliberations, which is not unusual for supplementals at this point in the process. So I agree with Linda that I think we ought to be pushing for it, and we ought to be, since it's silent on the distribution, ought to be urging the legislature to make sure it gets distributed to those of us who need it.
All right, thank you. Phil?
And I just wanted to mention real quick that the legislature went back into session yesterday, so you can email them tonight, you can call them tomorrow, whatever you need to do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we will move on to our second opportunity for hearing of the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this board? You have 5 minutes. Please identify yourself, your name and address.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Lori Doyle, the Peer Support Coordinator for CMH, and I'm here to introduce you to another peer. Her name is Diane Von Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Copenhagen, okay. And Diane is the director of Liberty's Drop-In Centers, and she just celebrated her 10-year anniversary as a certified peer support this week. So Diane is going to share her story with you.
All righty. I would like to start out to say how grateful I am to Macomb County Community Mental Health. I was first diagnosed with my mental illness when I turned 50, which is kind of unusual. Usually you're diagnosed much earlier. And I learned, and it was one of those, just like anybody else, I don't have a mental illness, I'm not crazy, what's wrong with you? Well, I ended up getting hospitalized quite a few times. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and so I live with that every day. And I was being treated by a psychiatrist for the first 6 months of the diagnosis because I had insurance from a former job. Unfortunately, once my insurance was gone, the psychiatrist that was treating me will not treat me anymore because I have no insurance. So I didn't know where to go. When I left that doctor's office, I thought, nobody cares. What's going to happen to me? I could go out, kill myself, nobody would care, nobody knows. And that's how I felt until I found community mental health. I really don't remember how I found out about community mental health, but of course I had no insurance, didn't know what I was going to do. I was taken in to the whole thing, and they treated me very well. I received medications through the community. A lot of different things happened, and I was in a bipolar support group with Macomb County for a good 5 years. And it got to the point where I was well enough to feel like, I want to go back to work, what can I do? And my therapist at the time said to me, of course, this is 10 years ago, we're looking for certified peers or a peer specialist. And I'm like, well, you have to tell me what that is first. And of course, she explained, to become a certified peer, you have to be a year into your recovery, and you have to be doing all the things you knew to stay healthy. And literally, I went and interviewed, and they said, at this time, and it's like, we can't hire you, we don't have the funds. And I'm like, well, okay, but we would like to hire you. So I thought, well, that's gone. Well, true to their word, within 6 months, I received a phone call to come in for an interview, and they offered me the job. I started out probably about a month. I was working for the county, and I was one of the first peers. They didn't know what to do with me. Well, what do we do with her? So I had a wonderful boss, and what we did at that time is I went to hospitals in Macomb County for people that were suicidal. That's the only reason they were there. And as a peer, and this was before my training, I just kind of went out, my boss went with me and introduced me, and they don't do this now, but they did this for me. Within a month, I was sent for training up to Higgins Lake for a 5-day training. It's a college training in 5 days. And you learn, they teach you, they're wonderful teachers. And then you had to pass a test, an essay test, a 30 essay question test that you couldn't mess up because you are allowed to take the test again, but of course you don't want to take it again, you want to do it the first time. So I was blessed enough to pass the test. So when I went back to Macomb County as a peer, I was now one of the first certified peers. So I was very proud of myself. And the first job I did, like I said, I went to the hospitals, and as time went on, other peers, of course, were hired, and they did different things. I was one of the first peers. What I'm very proud of, many things I'm proud of, we received a grant in the county to allow a peer support specialist to help run a family psychoeducation group, which if you know anything about it, it's a wonderful program. And it was always designed for 2 master's degree social workers. That's all that could present this. Well, they tried with me with this grant, and I was very proud of myself. The lady that they assigned to me was the master's degree social worker, and we started recruiting for these groups. It's pretty funny. We literally met people. We cold called people that were, of course, from Macomb County that were in treatment, and met them at McDonald's, met from different parts of the city. And we explained to them what it is going to be, and we had 2 groups going at one time. It was wonderful. And if you had asked Penny, she would tell you that it was me that was bringing the people in because, of course, she has a degree, but I had the mental illness. I was the one that could talk to them about what they were going through. And one of the best things about being a peer is we try as peers to help other people. So maybe I suffered a lot with my mental illness. I had no help, no hope, and I got through it. And I received my training. I learned many things. So I did the family psychoeducation. Then when the health and wellness grant came in, I started working in the health and wellness grant, setting up basically where I work now at Liberties to get the members to exercise, to eat right, to do all these things. We had chair yoga, we had Wii bowling, those kind of things. I was involved in all of that. And then what was the next thing? Oh, then I was going to Liberty South, which is where I work now. There's 2 of us, 2 locations. And I started doing the peer work there. So, of course, the boss got to know me. And she really liked me. We got along really well. And I only worked part-time for her. And then it came to a point where I ended up working part-time for the county and part-time for Liberties. So I went along like that for a couple years. And then, unfortunately, if you know Fran New, she unfortunately had a mini stroke and could not work anymore. And they all kind of looked around the office, who's going to do this now? It ended up being me. It's been quite a challenge. I've done it for 2.5 years now, and I continue to use those certified peer support trainings that I had gotten 10 years ago. And on top of that, the county also allows you as a peer to go to trainings in different parts of Michigan. So you're always updating, you're always kind of meeting with your peers. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. And I'm very proud, as I said, to be a certified peer. And I use those skills at Liberties. And it's just, I'm very grateful for where I've gone, what I've done. I'm very proud of myself for all the things that I've been through. And now working at Liberties is quite a challenge. I've never been an executive director before, and I run 2 locations. And I feel that we've come full circle because now working at Liberties, we are funded through Macomb County Community Health. I went right around the corner, and I'm not working for the county, but the county very wonderfully allows us to stay open. And at the drop-in centers, you have to have a diagnosed mental illness. You just can't come in off the street because we're funded through the county. So you have to explain that to people. You have to have a diagnosed mental illness and be in treatment to come to our drop-in centers. So, of course, we get all different kind of characters. It's a very interesting job. You never know what's going to happen. And those skills continue to help me. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else or if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And I'm just very proud to be a peer, and I'm so grateful to Community Mental Health for helping me when there was no other help.
Thank you very much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We hear a lot about the need and use of peer supports, but you gave a very thorough description of ways that can work. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sean McGregor. I'm with CEO. I'm just here to give the annual report from us. For our individual served update, CEO has completed the biannual individual feedback survey with some of the company-wide results, being 97% of our individuals feel they have friends at CEO. 95% of them feel as if they can make choices in their daily activities, and 95% of them also say they are happy and satisfied. Our individual served monthly educational seminar was on heat-related emergencies, which I have a handout. For our community center update, our Clinton Township location, we've had 24 individuals attend the Good Alls Fair this week. The week of July 15th. Free passes from this event were generously donated by a stakeholder, and a ice cream truck now called Treat Sweets has offered to come down to our Clinton Township location once a month for the individuals to purchase from. Also, our Clinton Township location is holding a fundraiser for a community outing through the Michigan DNR Adventure Center. I have flyers for that. At our Anchorville location, due to our ongoing employee safety training, the Anchorville staff successfully prevented an unwanted visitor from the building by calling a code orange. All employees immediately acted and everyone remained safe. The group later in the month also went to the movies to see The Lion King, and as well, Anchorville received a donation of a 100-gallon fish tank for the individuals. As well, our monthly micro business was for fall products, which I have the pens and pads for. At our Mount Clemens location, they received a donation of a 50-gallon fish tank for the individuals, and also welcomed 3 new employees. They also hosted the Fishing Academy, which is held on Thursdays. They have recently relocated to Rudisill Park in New Baltimore. At our Washington location, the garden boxes have been raised for better accessibility. They have also completed the Snowzalin room. At Washington, their greater community participation for July was over 65% attending. Volunteering at Meals on Wheels as well, up to 4 routes a day. And they also had 2 new individuals start. The training room floor is currently being replaced at Clinton Township. The Order of Alhambra has again offered to cook and serve Thanksgiving dinner for the Clinton Township location. And CEO employee retention rate for July was 96%. And then finally closing, myself and CEO would also like to wish the board a safe and happy Labor Day.
Thank you, Sean. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to address this body? Anyone else? Seeing none, I will call this meeting adjourned at 7:03 p.m. Well, it's 7 o'clock p.m. on the computer here. Thank you, everyone, for attending.